Hello, good morning. This is Dr. G, and I want to talk today about Wanderlust, reinvention, and sharing. And it's funny because now we're definitely working on a lot of things within ourselves, personal development type things. Perhaps maybe this might be your opportunity where you are, learning how to sew. I know I have a friend who she has recently taken up gardening, and she's also taken up sewing, and she's been really going to town during this time doing sewing projects and really sharing those, and it's just been really awesome following her journey. And so, maybe that's what's going on. Maybe you are reading now. Maybe you're reading books that you had wanted to read for a long time. Maybe you are working on another kind of project. Maybe you like to craft and you're crafting. Whatever it is, awesome. For us, we love to travel. We really do. We love to travel. We love to go to new places. We love to experience people and their culture and really get a view of the world outside of the immediate world that we live in. And so, it's always really neat when you visit somewhere, even if you're visiting another state, and you just get an appreciation for the culture, you get an appreciation for the people, and you just learn that no matter where you go in the world, we essentially all want the same things, right? We all want to love. We want to love our families. We want to make a difference in the world. We want to make a contribution to our society. That's the basic thing that we want to do. We want to add value to the world around us, and we want to have interactions with other humans. So we're all the same, no matter what language we speak, no matter what foods we eat, and just going and exploring and learning these types of things can help you to be even more enriched in your experiences and your interactions. And so that's one of the reasons why we love to travel. Plus, it's really cool just to see how people look at things differently. So one particular situation, we may look at it one way in our region, and then you may go somewhere else and it is looked at in a completely different way. And so that's one of the other appeals of traveling, and it makes you want to have some wanderlust. And so, we obviously can't travel right now. And so we've been doing some, we've done some like virtual looks at things. We've gone on Google and gone into the Google Classroom and, seen all of the places you can visit, the museums, the national parks, and just really explored that way. Since we can't physically be there, we have been satisfying our appetite for wanderlust through virtual means. So, hey, that's a suggestion. Perhaps if you're having wanderlust, that's one of the things that you can do. The other thing is, I have been having a really cool time with the podcast lately. And so if you don't know, I have a podcast. My podcast is called Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. And it basically talks about facing fear and emerging victoriously after doing so. And so, we all have fears no matter who we are. You could be the top of your field. You could be a complete expert in whatever you do. But I'm telling you, if you're a human being, which we all are, then you're going to have some fear or another. And, facing those fears is transformative, because what happens is not only do you grow, but you also help to make your impact on the world better, right? So you guys know that I have a fear of public speaking, and I'm constantly working on that. And the podcast is one of the vehicles through which I work on that. The other vehicle is by getting on stages and speaking. Now, that's a problem, right? Because, hey, Rachel, thanks for joining. That's a problem currently because all my speaking engagements have been essentially canceled. And so there are no stages currently for me to get onto. Now, this is where reinvention comes into play. So you may have a business, you may have something that you're doing that is a physical contact type of business. So speaking would be one. If you have like physical coaching or physical movement type of business, then that would be another. Now, how do you reinvent yourself so that your business does not completely go down to zilch during this time? Well, one way in which speakers are now reinventing themselves are by doing virtual summits, right? So they're getting on stages, stages, not physical stages, but they're getting on virtual stages, and they are still delivering that valuable content to the audience, but they're doing it via the virtual means. So that is one way in which you can reinvent during this time. And so that's an option. And then recently, I'm so proud of Master Lockman, if he's listening. Shout out to the Dojan and Master Lockman. And basically, he has a dojan and teaches martial arts. And my children have been going there for years. Matter of fact, we have 2 that are almost black belts. They're brown seniors. And we have 1 that's black belt and has gone up a couple levels with that. And so, he has a business that is literally, it's a local business and it's reliant on physical contact. But obviously, that's not possible right now. So how has he reinvented himself? He has basically made the classes available via Zoom, which I think is brilliant, because now he is reaching his clients at their homes where they are. He is doing the classes despite the fact that, no one can come. We can't go to the dojan anymore, but we can definitely do the practice in our homes. So that is a great way to reinvent yourself, to make sure that this situation does not thwart the progress of your business. And, just start thinking about really creative ways in which you can do that. So we talked about Wanderlust. We talked about reinvention. And then the next thing that I want to talk about is sharing. So how can you support those around you? Well, you can share. Okay. So how can you share? You can do something really simple. Like if, for example, this is a basic share point. So if you have something that you know that your neighbor needs, you can literally tell your neighbor, put a box outside. I'm going to put what I'm going to give you in the box. Boom. Sharing, personal sharing. Okay. The other way that you can share is if you have someone who is, for example, in a business or has a business that needs support during this time. So maybe they have a restaurant and maybe they're unable to make ends meet with the restaurant currently because no one can be in a restaurant really right now. Maybe they're transitioning to having maybe a takeout service, or maybe they're transitioning to having some other kind of way in which they're going to try to sustain during this time. You can share that knowledge, right? So if you know of someone who's looking for takeout, you can say, hey, this restaurant here is doing takeout, support them during this time. Or maybe the other thing you can do is you can get a gift certificate to that restaurant, and that's supporting the restaurant, and it's also sharing, right? Because now you may give that gift certificate to a neighbor, or you may give that gift certificate to a friend, and when things cool down and we're able to gather again, then that can be something that that person has had shared with them that's going to make a difference, going to make their day. It's going to make, a difference in their day. So, just thinking of really cool ways in which you can share. And then the last thing that I wanted to do as far as sharing is I wanted to share with you that, speaking of sharing, just share the love and take a listen to Fearless Freedom with Dr. G podcast and literally share it with your friends so they can listen to it too. And, leave me a positive comment so that more people can hear the content and be edified by it. Because the whole point of the show is that I am hoping that by talking about our fears and having people who are from all different backgrounds, great successes, and showing that even people who are very successful still have fears and are still working on conquering them, and have some pearls about how they have faced their fears in the past to share. Because guess what? The more we collaborate, the more we share, the more we acknowledge what we have going on and share how we deal with it, is the better it will be. Because they always say, by yourself, you can accomplish some things, right? But when you collaborate with others and we all work together, we can rise a lot higher than we could individually. So why not take advantage of something like that? And so the podcast is really fun. At least I think it's fun. Hopefully you will too. And, you know, there are all kinds of people that come on there. So we did something really neat last week. So last week we did something called a crossover episode. And basically the crossover episode is kind of like, you know how the comic book sometimes, you know, you'll start the story on with one character on their comic book, and then it'll continue on another character's comic book. So we did something like that. It's called a crossover. And basically we did this, and sounds like my phone's about to die. Hopefully it doesn't die right in the middle of this. But basically we did this, and myself and Dr. Baisha Claiborne were the two podcasts that were doing this. And so my podcast was Fearless Freedom with Dr. G. Her podcast is Next Level Physicians Thriving Outside the Box. And so the conversation started on my show, and basically it concluded on her show the next day. So it's really cool because you start listening to the story, you're getting into the story, and then you switch over to the next podcast and you continue the story. So this way, both our audiences get an opportunity to hear what we have going on, and the other audience gets to hear what's going on. And so it's really neat because we don't always have an overlap between who we serve. And so it is a great opportunity to kind of share that. And, you know, on the show, we talk about a lot of different things. I mean, initially we talk about like how we feel about the situation currently, you know, myself as a practicing physician, and then herself as someone who is now in the non-clinical realm. She had a thriving practice, and she basically gave that up to start doing physician coaching. And, you know, so there's a different perspective, and how we can both, you know, deal with the stress that we're feeling, how we can both deal with how we can help everybody, basically how we can help and contribute. And so, you know, we started talking about that. And of course, we started talking about all kinds of things. And we got talking about business. We got talking about how this is an amazing time, you know, outside of the negative piece. It can become a positive, because this can be the time when you, if you're in business, can reinvent yourself. I was talking about reinvention before, and it is a time when you can start having out of the box ideas that can really catapult your business, right? Because the people who are going to be successful, the people who are going to actually thrive through this and not let COVID win, are the people who are willing to be flexible, willing to reinvent themselves, and are willing to continue to give even when they feel, you know, the pressures. And, you know, to be honest with you, when you start reinventing yourself, when you start thinking of ways in which you can transform your business or whatever venture you're doing right now, whether you're working on your personal development, whether you are learning how to sew like my friend, or whether you are learning how to garden like my friend, you can just it helps you to deal with what is going on, and it helps you to thrive. So I want to share that. And so, you know, the other cool thing about, so that's the show from last week. This week's show, though, is also really cool because it combines Wanderlust, and it also combines sharing. So on the show, I had a amazing woman. Her name is EJ Buford, and she is a military mom. She is a educator. She's also a brand new children's book author, and she's really cool because she's visited 5 continents, right? 5. I was like, wow, 5 continents. She obviously hasn't been to the cold one, and I forget which other one that she hasn't been to. So she's visited 5 continents, and she has been into 50 countries. And so she's just been all over, partially because of the military, secondarily because of some other reasons. But she has developed, as an educator, she has developed this really cool children's book that comes with a curriculum that helps your cherub be able to explore the immediate world around them and find treasure in that, and then have that be a stimulus for them wanting to explore the greater world, right? So, I mean, that's amazing. That's basically cultivating, children who are world citizens, which, makes them more Renaissance and makes them really amazing human beings, right? Because now they have the ability to see the beauty in everything that they're doing, see the beauty in the world around them, and then want to get to know other humans like themselves who maybe speak a different language or have different culture, but whatever. It just really helps with developing a open-minded kind of philosophy and ethos, right? So her name is EJ Buford, and she's on this week's show. Definitely check it out. She has her book is called, I'm not gonna get it wrong, I wrote it down. Her book is called Fantastical Magical Places. That's the name of the book. And she is just phenomenal. So definitely check that out. And I hope that you guys are definitely doing the 3 things, right? The first one is Wanderlust. So if you're like us, if you have Wanderlust, there's some ways in which to satisfy that in the time being until you can hit all of those places on your bucket list that you're making up now, probably, thinking about when you're what kind of post COVID travel you're going to do. And then the second thing is reinventing yourself. So however you're reinventing yourself, whether you work on your personal development, whether you're learning a new skill, whether you are studying something, whether you are doing something for your business to reinvent it so that you are viable during this time, whatever it is, right? And then that third thing is sharing. So however you're sharing, whether you're sharing on the local level by supporting a local restaurant through a gift certificate or a takeout order, or you are helping a neighbor out by dropping something in the box outside their door on their porch, whatever it is, however you're sharing, I definitely encourage you to try one of those things. If you could, I would really appreciate this. Can you drop below whether you watched it live or the replay? Drop below if you watched the replay. And if you watch it live, can you drop below which one of these things you're planning on pursuing? Wanderlust, reinvention, or sharing? All right, guys. Hope that you have a great day. This is Dr. G, and I hope that you will be strong, be brave, and unleash your greatness.